My friends, many people pray for abundance. They ask God for money, success, comfort, and freedom. They say, if I had millions, I would finally be at peace, I would help others, I would live without fear. Money is often misunderstood as a prize, a sign that God is pleased, or a reward for hard work and intelligence. Many people secretly believe that if God truly loved them, wealth would arrive automatically. But this belief creates confusion, frustration, and sometimes even resentment toward heaven. The truth is far deeper and far more demanding. Money is not a reward, it is a test. And like every serious test in life, it is given only when the person is ready to handle it without being destroyed by it. If money were a reward, then only good people would be rich and only careless people would struggle. But we know that is not how the world works. We see kind people with little and unethical people with much. That alone should tell us that wealth is not a measure of righteousness, it is a measure of trust. God does not hand over power lightly, and money is power. It amplifies decisions, accelerates consequences, and magnifies inner traits that already exist. Before God increases your influence, He observes how you handle the influence you already have. Think carefully about this. Money gives you options. Options reveal character. When you have no choice, you can still appear disciplined, humble, and patient. But when you have choices, when you can buy comfort, avoid responsibility, or silence your conscience, who you truly are comes to the surface. That is why money is a test. It exposes what pressure hides. Many people ask, why hasn't God blessed me yet? Without realizing that their current situation is already the examination. How do you treat people when you cannot benefit from them? How do you manage your time when no one is supervising you? How do you spend what little you have? Do you rush to satisfy every desire, or do you pause, think, and act with intention? These small, daily decisions are not random. They are watched, not judged harshly, but observed carefully. God does not test people to fail them. God tests people to prepare them. Just as a child is not given a car before learning responsibility, rules, and restraint, a person is not given abundance before proving maturity. Imagine giving millions to someone who has not learned self-control. That wealth would not bless them. It would ruin them. It would inflate ego, weaken discipline, and create distance from God rather than closeness. In that sense, delay is mercy. Look at how stress enters a person's life. A small financial increase already causes anxiety for many. More bills, more fear, more comparison, more pressure. If a small raise can disturb your peace, what would millions do? God asks a simple question through life itself. Can you stay grounded while rising? If the answer is not yet, the test continues. This is why shortcuts to wealth are dangerous. Sudden money often arrives without the inner preparation required to sustain it. Many lottery winners end up worse than before, not because money is evil, but because they were not trained to carry it. Wealth without wisdom becomes a burden. Power without humility becomes poison. God's system is not cruel, it is precise. People often think God is impressed by ambition. He is not. God is impressed by consistency, by honesty when lying would be easier, by restraint when indulgence is available, by generosity when resources are limited. These are signs of someone who understands that money is not the source of life, but a tool within it. If money were a reward, people would chase goodness for payment. But because money is a test, goodness must exist before increase. God is not interested in bribing people into virtue. He is interested in building human beings who can reflect divine values even under pressure. The test is never about the amount, it is about the mindset. Ask yourself honestly, if your income doubled tomorrow, would your humility double as well? Or would your patience shrink? Would your generosity increase? Or would your fear of losing grow stronger? These questions are uncomfortable, but they are essential. Life keeps asking them until the answers change. There is another layer to this test that many ignore: trust in God. Money tempts people to believe they are self-made, self-sustained, and self-sufficient. It whispers, "You no longer need help." That whisper is dangerous. God delays wealth until a person understands deeply that money does not replace faith, effort, or moral responsibility. Without that understanding, wealth becomes an idol. When you see money as a test, your behavior changes. You stop obsessing over amounts and start focusing on alignment. You stop asking, "How can I get more?" and start asking, "How can I become more?" You realize that passing the test is not about earning God's approval, but about becoming someone who can receive without losing their soul. Every stage of life carries its own examination. Your current financial level is not random. It is appropriate to your current level of growth. That does not mean you are bad or unworthy. It means you are in training, and training feels uncomfortable by design. When a person understands this, bitterness turns into responsibility. Envy turns into self-reflection. Complaints turn into discipline. You begin to see your present situation not as a punishment, but as preparation. You become careful with words, mindful with spending, intentional with effort, and honest with yourself. And this is where everything shifts, because when God sees that money will serve your values instead of replacing them, the test changes. When wealth no longer threatens your humility, generosity, or faith, abundance no longer needs to be delayed. At that point, money becomes a tool in the hands of a grounded person, not a force that controls them. Conclusion: God does not withhold millions out of cruelty or neglect. He withholds them out of wisdom and protection. Money is not a trophy handed to the deserving. It is a responsibility entrusted to the ready. When you understand that wealth is a test, not a reward, you stop chasing it blindly and start preparing for it properly. Fix how you handle pressure, choice, and responsibility now, and you won't need to beg for abundance later. When the test is passed, increase comes naturally, and when it comes, it stays. Many people believe that their future will somehow be different from their present, that one day they will magically become wiser, more disciplined, more generous, and more responsible simply because they have more money. They say things like, "When I earn more, I'll manage better," or "When I'm successful, I'll become more careful." But life does not work that way. What you do with little already reveals exactly what you would do with much. The future does not create new habits, it only magnifies existing ones. Look closely at how people behave when resources are limited. Scarcity does not create character, it exposes it. If someone lies to protect a small advantage, they will lie to protect a big one. If someone wastes time when their schedule is free, they will waste it when it is full. If someone avoids responsibility when the stakes are low, they will run from it when the stakes are high. God does not need to imagine how you would act with millions. He can already see it in how you treat what is currently in your hands. This principle can be uncomfortable because it removes excuses. It means you cannot blame your lack of success on circumstance alone. It means your daily choices matter more than your dreams. People often underestimate the spiritual and practical importance of small decisions. They think only big moments count, but life is built almost entirely out of quiet, repetitive actions that no one applauds. These are the moments that shape destiny. Consider how people handle money today. Do they track it, respect it, and plan with it? Or do they spend impulsively and then wonder why nothing remains? A person who ignores small leaks will drown when the flood comes. Wealth does not fix disorder, it funds it. If your financial life is chaotic now, abundance will not bring peace, it will bring faster chaos. The same applies to time. Everyone has 24 hours in a day, regardless of income. If you consistently waste hours scrolling, procrastinating, or avoiding uncomfortable tasks, more freedom will not suddenly turn you into a focused person. It will simply give you more space to delay what matters. God watches how you treat time because time is more valuable than money. Money can be earned again, time cannot. Relationships also reveal this truth. How you treat people when you have nothing to gain shows how you will treat them when you have everything. If you are dismissive, impatient, or selfish now, influence will only amplify those traits. God does not give authority to those who misuse closeness, nor wealth to those who misuse trust. People often misunderstand growth. They think growth is about reaching a new level. In reality, growth is about mastering the current one. Each stage of life is like a classroom. You cannot skip grades. If you refuse to learn the lesson of discipline in scarcity, you will be forced to repeat it until you do. God does not promote people who are still failing the basics. This is why some individuals seem stuck for years. It is not that opportunities do not exist. It is that the same test keeps appearing in different forms. The details change, but the lesson remains the same. Learn consistency, learn responsibility, learn patience. Until these are integrated into behavior, advancement would be harmful rather than helpful. Another mistake people make is believing that intentions are enough. They say, "I have a good heart," or "I would do good if I had more." But intention without action has no weight. Heaven responds to evidence, not promises. What you consistently do is the clearest expression of who you are becoming. God looks at patterns, not potential. Small faithfulness builds inner strength. When you choose to do the right thing in minor matters, you are training yourself for greater challenges. Every time you resist an unnecessary expense, keep a promise, or complete a task even when it feels insignificant, you are strengthening your capacity. These moments feel small, but they accumulate silently, like interest compounding over time. People admire overnight success, but there is no such thing. What looks sudden is usually the result of long obedience in small things. God's system is slow on purpose because it builds foundations that last. A structure that rises quickly without support will collapse under its own weight. There is also humility in this principle. It reminds us that we are not special exceptions to the rules of life. We are shaped by habits, not fantasies. If you want to know your future, look honestly at your present routines. They are already pointing in a direction. This truth is not meant to discourage. It is meant to empower. If what you do with little determines what you would do with much, then change is within reach. You do not need millions to become the kind of person who can handle millions. You need discipline today. You need awareness today. You need integrity today. When you start honoring small responsibilities, something shifts inside you. You begin to respect yourself more. You stop waiting for permission to become better. And as your inner order increases, life responds. Opportunities begin to appear, not because you chased them, but because you became ready for them. Conclusion: what you do with little is not insignificant, it is decisive. Your present behavior is a rehearsal for your future. God does not gamble with abundance. He observes patterns and responds accordingly. When your daily actions show wisdom, discipline, and respect for what you have, you silently pass the test. And when the test is passed, more is not just given, it is entrusted. Gratitude is often spoken about as a polite emotion, something people express after receiving something good. But in reality, gratitude is far more powerful than manners or positive thinking. Gratitude is capacity. It is the inner space that allows blessing to remain, grow, and multiply. Without gratitude, even abundance feels empty. With gratitude, even little becomes enough, and enough eventually becomes more. Many people believe they are ready for more, yet they constantly complain about what they already have. They speak about their current life as if it is an obstacle instead of a foundation. They wake up focused on what is missing rather than what is present. This mindset quietly signals something important to heaven. If given more, they would still feel deprived. God does not increase what is resented, because resentment poisons enjoyment and responsibility alike. Complaining may feel harmless, but spiritually and psychologically it shrinks a person. When you complain, you train your mind to see lack everywhere. You become blind to progress. You overlook opportunities. Even when something good arrives, it is quickly dismissed because it is not enough. Gratitude works in the opposite direction. It sharpens awareness. It helps you recognize value. And when you recognize value, you naturally protect and grow it. Think about how people treat things they appreciate versus things they take for granted. What is appreciated is handled carefully. What is taken for granted is neglected. God is deeply concerned with how His gifts are treated. Gratitude is the sign that a person understands the weight of what they've been given. Without that understanding, more would only lead to waste. Many people say, "If my situation improved, I'd be grateful." But gratitude does not follow improvement. Improvement follows gratitude. This does not mean pretending everything is perfect. It means recognizing that even in struggle, there are tools, lessons, and blessings already present. Gratitude does not deny pain. It prevents pain from turning into bitterness. There is a hidden arrogance in constant dissatisfaction. It quietly says, "I deserve better than this," without asking whether one has mastered what is already given. Gratitude restores humility. It reminds you that life itself is not owed. Breath is not owed. Opportunity is not owed. When a person truly understands this, their heart softens and their perspective widens. Gratitude also changes behavior. A grateful person plans better, wastes less, and gives more. When you are thankful for your income, you manage it wisely. When you are thankful for your body, you care for it. When you are thankful for your relationships, you nurture them. Gratitude turns blessings into responsibilities, not entitlements. God increases capacity before increasing quantity. Gratitude is how that capacity is built. A person who cannot find peace with what they have will not find peace with more. They will simply carry their dissatisfaction to a higher level. That is why some wealthy people remain restless and anxious. They have abundance without appreciation, and abundance without appreciation is a heavy burden. Another truth about gratitude is that it anchors a person in the present. Anxiety lives in the future, regret lives in the past, but gratitude lives now. When you are present, you make better decisions. You notice opportunities others miss. You respond instead of react. This presence is essential for handling abundance wisely. Gratitude also protects a person from envy. When you are grateful, you are not threatened by someone else's success. You are secure in your own journey. Envy, on the other hand, creates comparison, and comparison destroys joy. God does not bless comparison. He blesses contentment that is paired with effort. Some people fear that gratitude will make them complacent. In truth, the opposite is true. Gratitude fuels healthy ambition. When you appreciate where you are, you work from strength instead of frustration. Your actions become clearer, calmer, and more effective. Gratitude does not kill desire, it purifies it. There is also a spiritual law at work. What you honor grows. Gratitude is a form of honor. When you honor what you have, you signal readiness for more. This is not mystical thinking, it is observable reality. People who value their resources attract opportunities. People who devalue them repel support. Gratitude trains the heart to receive. Without it, even gifts feel like burdens. With it, responsibilities feel meaningful. God does not pour into closed vessels. Gratitude opens the vessel. You do not need more money to be grateful. You need awareness. And awareness can be practiced daily, intentionally, quietly. Each time you choose appreciation over complaint, you expand your inner capacity. Over time, this expansion becomes visible in your life. Conclusion: gratitude is not a reaction to abundance. It is the foundation for it. It creates the inner space where blessings can settle without being wasted or resented. God increases what is appreciated because appreciation proves understanding. When you learn to respect, honor, and care for what you already have, you become capable of holding more. Fix gratitude, and capacity follows. When capacity is ready, increase is inevitable. Gratitude is often spoken about as a polite emotion, something people express after receiving something good. But in reality, gratitude is far more powerful than manners or positive thinking. Gratitude is capacity. It is the inner space that allows blessing to remain, grow, and multiply. Without gratitude, even abundance feels empty. With gratitude, even little becomes enough, and enough eventually becomes more. Many people believe they are ready for more, yet they constantly complain about what they already have. They speak about their current life as if it is an obstacle instead of a foundation. They wake up focused on what is missing rather than what is present. This mindset quietly signals something important to heaven. If given more, they would still feel deprived. God does not increase what is resented, because resentment poisons enjoyment and responsibility alike. Complaining may feel harmless, but spiritually and psychologically it shrinks a person. When you complain, you train your mind to see lack everywhere. You become blind to progress. You overlook opportunities. Even when something good arrives, it is quickly dismissed because it is not enough. Gratitude works in the opposite direction. It sharpens awareness. It helps you recognize value. And when you recognize value, you naturally protect and grow it. Think about how people treat things they appreciate versus things they take for granted. What is appreciated is handled carefully. What is taken for granted is neglected. God is deeply concerned with how His gifts are treated. Gratitude is the sign that a person understands the weight of what they've been given. Without that understanding, more would only lead to waste. Many people say, if my situation improved, I'd be grateful. But gratitude does not follow improvement. Improvement follows gratitude. This does not mean pretending everything is perfect. It means recognizing that even in struggle, there are tools, lessons, and blessings already present. Gratitude does not deny pain. It prevents pain from turning into bitterness. There is a hidden arrogance in constant dissatisfaction. It quietly says, I deserve better than this, without asking whether one has mastered what is already given. Gratitude restores humility. It reminds you that life itself is not owed. Breath is not owed. Opportunity is not owed. When a person truly understands this, their heart softens and their perspective widens. Gratitude also changes behavior. A grateful person plans better, wastes less, and gives more. When you are thankful for your income, you manage it wisely. When you are thankful for your body, you care for it. When you are thankful for your relationships, you nurture them. Gratitude turns blessings into responsibilities, not entitlements. God increases capacity before increasing quantity. Gratitude is how that capacity is built. A person who cannot find peace with what they have will not find peace with more. They will simply carry their dissatisfaction to a higher level. That is why some wealthy people remain restless and anxious. They have abundance without appreciation, and abundance without appreciation is a heavy burden. Another truth about gratitude is that it anchors a person in the present. Anxiety lives in the future, regret lives in the past, but gratitude lives now. When you are present, you make better decisions. You notice opportunities others miss. You respond instead of react. This presence is essential for handling abundance wisely. Gratitude also protects a person from envy. When you are grateful, you are not threatened by someone else's success. You are secure in your own journey. Envy, on the other hand, creates comparison, and comparison destroys joy. God does not bless comparison. He blesses contentment that is paired with effort. Some people fear that gratitude will make them complacent. In truth, the opposite is true. Gratitude fuels healthy ambition. When you appreciate where you are, you work from strength instead of frustration. Your actions become clearer, calmer, and more effective. Gratitude does not kill desire, it purifies it. There is also a spiritual law at work. What you honor grows. Gratitude is a form of honor. When you honor what you have, you signal readiness for more. This is not mystical thinking. It is observable reality. People who value their resources attract opportunities. People who devalue them repel support. Gratitude trains the heart to receive. Without it, even gifts feel like burdens. With it, responsibilities feel meaningful. God does not pour into closed vessels. Gratitude opens the vessel. You do not need more money to be grateful. You need awareness, and awareness can be practiced daily, intentionally, quietly. Each time you choose appreciation over complaint, you expand your inner capacity. Over time, this expansion becomes visible in your life. Conclusion: gratitude is not a reaction to abundance, it is the foundation for it. It creates the inner space where blessings can settle without being wasted or resented. God increases what is appreciated because appreciation proves understanding. When you learn to respect, honor, and care for what you already have, you become capable of holding more. Fixed gratitude and capacity follows. When capacity is ready, increase is inevitable. Many people believe their biggest problem is a lack of opportunity, a lack of money, or a lack of connections. But in reality, the most dangerous imbalance in life is when income grows faster than character. When that happens, success becomes a threat rather than a blessing. God is deeply concerned with this imbalance because character is what keeps a person stable when pressure increases. Without it, growth leads not to elevation, but to collapse. Character is not built in moments of applause. It is built in resistance, restraint, and repetition. It is formed when no one is watching and when shortcuts are available but refused. Income, on the other hand, can increase suddenly. A promotion, a business breakthrough, or a viral moment can elevate a person overnight. But if the inner foundation is weak, that sudden rise exposes cracks that were previously hidden. This is why God often allows people to struggle longer than they think is fair. The delay is not denial, it is development. God values who you become more than what you acquire. Money can be replaced, reputation can sometimes be repaired, but a damaged soul is far harder to restore. So God slows the process to protect the person from becoming someone they would later regret. When income rises before character, pride usually follows. A person begins to believe they are exceptional, self-made, or above correction. Advice feels like an insult. Boundaries feel like limitations. Slowly, the humility that once kept them grounded disappears. God will not increase someone who cannot be corrected, because correction is essential for survival at higher levels. Another danger is the loss of self-control. More money means more access to comfort, pleasure, and escape. Without discipline, a person begins to indulge instead of invest, consume instead of create, and distract instead of focus. The very thing they prayed for becomes the thing that weakens them. God does not reward a lack of restraint. He waits for mastery. Character also determines how power is used. Money gives power over choices, people, and time. Without integrity, that power is abused, sometimes subtly, sometimes openly. Promises are broken, ethics are compromised, relationships become transactional. God is not interested in funding harm, even unintentional harm. He withholds increase until power can be carried safely. Patience is another trait that must grow before income. Wealth brings delays, negotiations, and pressure. Impatient people make impulsive decisions under stress. They chase quick returns and ignore long-term consequences. God trains patience through waiting, through repetition, through discomfort. When patience matures, wealth can arrive without overwhelming the person. There is also the issue of identity. If a person's sense of worth is tied to money, income will distort their self-image. Success will inflate them, loss will destroy them. God wants identity anchored in values, not in numbers. Character provides that anchor. It allows a person to remain stable whether income rises or falls. People often ask why some talented individuals never seem to break through. Talent attracts opportunity, but character sustains it. God may open a door once to test readiness, but He will not keep doors open for someone who lacks honesty, discipline, or humility. Talent without character is dangerous because it creates influence without wisdom. Character growth is slow and often uncomfortable. It requires saying no when yes would feel good. It requires consistency when motivation fades. It requires accountability when excuses would be easier. This slow process feels frustrating, especially when others seem to succeed faster. But what looks like delay is actually reinforcement. God is strengthening the structure before adding weight. When character leads, income follows naturally and safely. Decisions become clearer. Pressure becomes manageable. Success becomes sustainable. The person does not lose themselves in the process. They remain aligned with their values. God's priority is not how high you rise, but how well you stand when you get there. If rising would cause you to fall morally, spiritually, or emotionally, God will wait. Not because He withholds good, but because He protects what matters most. Conclusion: income can rise quickly, but character must rise first. Without integrity, discipline, humility, and patience, success becomes destructive. God delays wealth not to frustrate you, but to form you. When character leads and income follows, abundance becomes a blessing instead of a burden. Fix who you are becoming, and what you receive will arrive at the right time. And it will last. There is a version of life that everyone sees and a version that only God sees. The public version is shaped by reputation, words, and appearances. The private version is shaped by choices made in silence, when no one is watching, correcting, or applauding. It is in this unseen space that real readiness is formed. God pays far more attention to what happens in private than to what is displayed in public, because private behavior reveals true character. Many people want visible success, but they neglect invisible discipline. They want recognition without preparation, reward without restraint, and influence without integrity. Yet God does not entrust abundance based on image. He entrusts it based on consistency in the unseen moments. Who you are alone determines who you can be trusted to be in front of others. Think about how easy it is to behave well when people are watching. Social pressure, reputation, and fear of judgment can keep anyone in line for a while. But remove the audience, and the real self emerges. Do you keep your word when breaking it would be convenient? Do you choose honesty when dishonesty would go unnoticed? Do you remain disciplined when no one would blame you for being lazy? These are not small questions. They are decisive. The unseen moments train the soul. Every private decision strengthens or weakens your inner structure. When you choose what is right without external pressure, you build self-respect. When you repeatedly choose comfort over responsibility, you erode it. God is deeply invested in this inner structure because it determines how a person will behave under power. Money brings privacy. It removes supervision. It creates freedom from consequences that normally restrain behavior. Without strong internal boundaries, a person will cross external ones. That is why God watches how you act now, while consequences are still close. If you cannot restrain yourself when limits are present, you will not restrain yourself when limits disappear. The unseen also includes how you think. Thoughts shape actions long before actions become visible. Do you rehearse resentment, envy, and entitlement in your mind? Or do you practice gratitude, patience, and humility? God listens to the inner dialogue because it predicts future behavior. Wealth does not change thought patterns, it intensifies them. There is also the matter of stewardship. How do you treat what belongs to you when no one checks? Do you take care of your responsibilities or do you neglect them? Do you honor time, health, and resources, or do you waste them casually? God does not give more to those who disrespect what they already manage privately. Many people perform generosity publicly but are stingy in secret. They are polite in public but harsh at home. They speak of values but violate them in private. This split life creates instability. God desires wholeness, not performance. Integrity means the private and public selves match. Only such a person can be trusted with influence. Unseen discipline is often boring. There are no cheers for waking up early, staying focused, or resisting temptation. There are no medals for consistency. Yet this is where greatness is formed. God values faithfulness over flashiness because faithfulness lasts. When life feels slow and unnoticed, many grow discouraged. They think God has forgotten them. In reality, those seasons are when the most important work is happening. God uses obscurity to strengthen motives. When you continue to do what is right without recognition, you prove that you are not driven by ego. That proof matters. Another hidden test is how you handle small moral compromises. It is easy to justify tiny dishonesty, minor laziness, or subtle manipulation. But small compromises create patterns. Patterns become identity. God intervenes early by withholding greater opportunity until those patterns change. The unseen also reveals trust in God. Do you act ethically only when it benefits you, or because it aligns with your values? Do you rely on shortcuts, or do you trust that integrity will be honored in time? God rewards trust that persists without evidence. When a person consistently passes the unseen tests, something changes. They develop inner authority. They no longer need constant validation or supervision. They become self-governed. This is the kind of person God can safely bless. Conclusion: God watches the unseen moments because they reveal who you truly are. Private discipline, hidden honesty, and silent consistency build the foundation required for lasting success. Public achievements may impress people, but private faithfulness earns trust from heaven. Fix what no one sees, and God will entrust you with what everyone will see. Many people believe that money itself is the blessing, that if they could just reach a certain number, life would finally make sense. They organize their days around earning, saving, and accumulating, often without questioning why. Slowly, without realizing it, money stops being a tool and starts becoming the goal. When that happens, something subtle but dangerous occurs. Money takes the place that meaning was meant to occupy. When money becomes the center, it begins to control behavior. Decisions are no longer guided by values but by profit. Relationships are evaluated based on usefulness. Time is spent not on what is important, but on what pays. This is not because money is evil, but because it was never meant to carry the weight of purpose. God does not bless this orientation because it leads to emptiness even when wealth increases. Chasing money creates fear. Fear of loss, fear of falling behind, fear of not having enough. Ironically, the more a person focuses on money as their security, the more insecure they become. God does not want abundance to trap someone in anxiety. He wants it to serve them, not enslave them. So when money is chased as an end in itself, the blessing is blocked. Purpose, on the other hand, creates clarity. When a person knows why they are working, earning, and building, money finds its proper place. It becomes fuel, not identity. It becomes a servant, not a master. God responds to this alignment because resources given to a person with purpose are multiplied wisely. People often say, "I need money to fulfill my purpose." But more often, purpose must be discovered before money arrives. Purpose shapes discipline. It defines boundaries. It guides decisions. Without purpose, wealth scatters attention and weakens focus. With purpose, wealth is concentrated and effective. There is also a spiritual danger in chasing money. It convinces a person they are self-sufficient. Success whispers, "You did this alone." Gradually, prayer fades. Humility erodes. Dependence on God is replaced with dependence on numbers. God delays wealth when it would replace faith instead of supporting it. When money is the goal, shortcuts become tempting. Ethics become flexible. Integrity becomes negotiable. This is why many people who chase wealth lose themselves along the way. God does not fund compromise. He waits until a person's loyalty is clear. A person with purpose can receive wealth without being changed by it. Their values are already defined. Their direction is already set. Money simply accelerates what already exists. God blesses acceleration only when the direction is right. Purpose also protects relationships. When money is the focus, people become tools. When purpose is the focus, people remain sacred. God values how we treat others. Wealth given to someone who sees people as means will create harm. God withholds abundance to prevent that harm. Many people feel stuck because they are chasing the wrong thing. They are asking God for money when they should be asking for clarity. Once clarity comes, effort becomes focused. Energy is no longer wasted. Opportunities align naturally. God gives resources to those who understand their role. Wealth is not meant to fill emptiness. It is meant to support contribution. When money is seen as a way to serve, create, and uplift, it flows more freely. When it is seen as validation, it becomes heavy. Purpose also creates patience. A person driven only by money is always in a hurry. They compare constantly. They rush decisions. Purpose-driven people can wait because they are not trying to prove themselves. God honors patience rooted in trust. When money is no longer chased, something surprising happens. It begins to follow. Not magically, but naturally. People trust those with clear values. Opportunities gravitate toward those with direction. God aligns circumstances when motives are clean. Conclusion: chasing money blocks the blessing because it replaces meaning with numbers and purpose with pressure. God gives abundance to those who see wealth as a tool, not a god. When purpose comes first, money finds its rightful place. Fix your focus, and the blessing will no longer control you. It will serve you. Alignment is one of the most misunderstood ideas in spiritual and personal growth. Many people think alignment means saying the right prayers, speaking positive words, or wanting the right outcomes. But alignment is not about desire. It is about harmony between what you believe, what you say, and what you do. When these three are disconnected, life feels heavy and progress feels blocked. When they come together, movement becomes natural. A person can pray daily for abundance while living in contradiction to their prayers. They ask for peace while feeding anxiety. They ask for growth while avoiding responsibility. They ask for opportunity while remaining unprepared. God does not respond to words alone. He responds to patterns. Alignment is the condition that allows those patterns to open doors rather than close them. Many people live divided lives. In prayer or speech, they express faith. In action, they express fear. In values, they speak about honesty. In behavior, they cut corners. This inner conflict creates resistance, not because God is punishing, but because reality itself does not move smoothly against contradiction. A divided person pulls in opposite directions. Alignment begins with honesty, honest assessment of habits, motives, and choices. It requires asking uncomfortable questions. Do my daily actions support what I ask for? Do my routines match my goals? Do my priorities reflect my values? Until these questions are answered honestly, progress will remain slow. God does not reward desperation. Desperation is loud but unstable. It demands immediate results without readiness. Alignment, on the other hand, is quiet and strong. It is built through consistent behavior that reflects trust. God responds to readiness because readiness ensures sustainability. When alignment is present, discipline no longer feels forced. Actions flow from belief instead of obligation. A person no longer needs constant motivation because their direction is clear. This clarity creates momentum. God multiplies momentum because it is efficient and purposeful. Another aspect of alignment is accepting timing. Many people want the blessing now, without respecting the process required to carry it. Alignment includes patience. It includes trust that preparation matters. God's timing is not random. It is responsive to development. Alignment also requires letting go of contradictions in identity. You cannot see yourself as irresponsible and expect disciplined outcomes. You cannot see yourself as a victim and expect authority. Identity shapes behavior. When identity is aligned with values, behavior follows naturally. When alignment is missing, life feels like struggle. You push, but nothing moves. You try harder, but results remain limited. This is often a signal to look inward rather than outward. Something within is resisting the very thing being requested. Alignment does not mean perfection. It means direction. Small, consistent steps matter more than dramatic promises. God responds to consistency because it shows seriousness. Sudden intensity fades, but steady alignment endures. When alignment is achieved, opportunities no longer feel forced. Connections appear naturally. Doors open without manipulation, not because of magic, but because your inner order attracts outer order. Alignment also protects from self-sabotage. When beliefs, values, and actions match, you no longer undermine your own progress. Fear loses power, doubt quiets, confidence grows from within. God entrusts abundance to aligned people because alignment ensures stewardship. Resources given to aligned individuals are used intentionally, not wasted. This makes increase safe. Conclusion: alignment unlocks multiplication because it removes inner resistance. When your prayers, values, and actions move in the same direction, progress accelerates naturally. God responds to readiness, not desperation. Fix alignment, and what once felt blocked begins to flow.